Yo, what's going on?
The Back Pew.
We got so much to talk about this week.
You know.
We can unpack like these conversations. You can see a pedicure.
You would do.
Depends on his feet.
That could be my own street.
What's up? What's up, Tam? We in person. We not Back Pew Conversations.
What's going on? This is
The Tim and Tam Talks. He be doing this stuff all the time. New here. Go ahead and click that follow, subscribe button, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We everywhere.
Yo, we everywhere. Like literally everywhere. Yo, welcome back to the Back Pew Conversations here on a wonderful Tuesday night. My name is Tim.
And I'm Tam. What's good, Tim?
What's up, Tam? Welcome back to the Back Pew, sis. How you living tonight?
Listen, I'm doing better. Technical difficulties, but I'm doing better. I'm ready to get into it.
Technical difficulties and all, we thank you guys because it has definitely been a great night so far. We thank Tam for doing all the producing and all that fun stuff. Hey, baby. Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
girl.
But yeah, we really are thankful that you are here with us here on another Tuesday night here at the Back Pew Conversations. And so what makes our show so dope, what makes it so great is the collaboration. So we love the conversation that you have in the comment section. So please join the conversation, comment below. We love to hear what you have to say about some of these great topics that Tam and I are going to discuss tonight. So let's keep it interactive as always. But last but not least, always remember, we thank you for watching, and also like, share, click that like and share button that you see. Follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, because as we say, as always, we are everywhere. Tam, you got anything to add to that?
No, we everywhere. Let's get into it if you're ready.
Let's do it. So what's the first topic? So what would you do if your son did what? What happened?
So what would you do if your son came home and his nails were painted?
Painted what color?
Does it matter?
What would I do if my son came with his nails painted?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me say I have no problem with young men getting pedicures and manicures, and I have no problem with it whatsoever because grooming is a part of life and it's a part of manhood to groom. And so I have no problem with that. We take it a step farther, though, when we start to do things like put fingernail polish on our fingers as masculine men. And so for me, it would be a conflict of interest when it comes to my sons doing it. I do not believe that is the place for a young man to do that. However, if he chose to do that, I would also respect him as his father to just also let him know my concerns with that decision. But I think that the nail polish should be kept for the ladies, and I think some things should be separate from men and women instead of us trying to be so inclusive on everything.
Yeah.
I think there's still a standard to how some things should go. I am not personally would not look forward to wearing matching fingernail polish with my wife. We like to match with how we dress, but that does not extend to me getting the same fingernail polish as she does. No, I mean, we're not taking it that level. And so I think there should be things that should still be great for a woman to do and excluding a man from it. So that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it would be weird if my man had some nail polish on his nails, Tim. I got to be honest. Because I'd be like, why? Like, what is that about? What made you want to do that? And then if he's like, it's a fashion statement, then I have more questions because I'm just like, what other kind of statements are you trying to make? What other kind of statements are you trying to make? Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into this topic, though, Tim, because it originated from one of the Facebook posts that I saw. It was a young lady who had I believe like a 5 or 6 year old son who was at school, and the school decided the teachers decided to actually paint the kids' nails. Now, the kids took turns painting nails, But unfortunately, boys also, or fortunately, depending on how you look at this, got their nails painted too. Now, if your son came home from school and was like, the teacher told us to paint nails and I got my nails painted, Dad, what would you do then?
I'm yanking him out of that school. I'm yanking him out of that school because in this day and age, far too many teachers are pushing their own personal agenda on children. Far too many times we've seen that from the African American teacher who was allowing the two young ladies to braid his hair or unbraid his hair in school. You got a train going by. That's dope. But so you have that teacher that has the agenda of now having his 1 minute of fame. You have all these other teachers that are pushing these personal agendas on, not giving a kid just an opportunity to be a kid. And so I have a huge problem with it. Me personally, if my son were to come home and say, my teacher taught me this, well, I didn't consent for you to put any fingernail polish on my son. I consented for you to teach my son and for a place for my son to learn what's in those books that he has to read, or on those programs on his iPad and laptop that he has to read. Those are the things that I expect of you. I don't expect you to teach him anything when it comes to his own personal hygiene. That's my job.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I would be upset if my son came home talking about the teacher said I had to get my nails painted at school. It's like, one thing, we send our kids to school for a lot of reasons. One, so we won't go to jail, right? And then the other piece, obviously, is for an education. That's what we like to tell ourselves, to be able to function around other kids and have friends and all of those wonderful, glorious things. But I think in this generation, for sure, school is becoming something completely different, which is why I promote homeschooling. You know, my kids have been homeschooled for a while. So I absolutely promote homeschooling, because it used to be, I'm going to say back in the day, because I'm always going to be like old. Like back in the day, like we could actually pray in school back in the day, and it wouldn't be like frowned upon. It was like encouraged. And then now it's very, very much taboo that like you can't pray. You don't want to offend people by you honoring your own faith and your own, belief, or you don't want to pressure people into believing what you believe and all those other kind of things. But they can push these other agendas that are outside of, one's faith, and those things are okay on all in the umbrella of, whatever they want to call it. But it's just like, where do you draw the line? Like for me, I would be angry, just because that's just not something that I promote in my own household. So why would I want somebody else to take that initiative to be promoting things that I'm not instilling in them, beyond just the educational piece of like what they should be learning in order to be a better human being?
Yeah, it's fair. It's good. I agree, Tam. I agree.
All right, so let's get into the next topic, which is Candace Owens says. So you said Candace Owens has been pro-Black lately. I don't know what that means, but but recently Candace Owens says pornography should be banned. It's a psychological weapon to weaken our men. Just curious, what you think here, Tim? Obviously, you're a male. She's talking about your kind. What do you think about what she said?
So you just going to lay this up for me. This is your topic. Doesn't pornography affect women too?
We could talk about it. But she said men. I don't know. You changed the topic?
I mean, there's validity to what she's saying. I mean, pornography is a distraction. It's a huge distraction. And it does take away your power, because it takes away your focus. and you just end up spending time looking at what's online as opposed to taking care of your responsibilities. I mean, because you constantly trying to chase that next hit on uh, that next vision. So it can be it can be very intoxicating.
These words. What?
I'm just being. I mean, listen.
Do
I
you all men watch pornography, Tim?
most men I know have at least watched it, and
Married men?
huh?
Married men still watch pornography?
Some married men do. Are you? You gonna get me?
I'm curious. Like, I'm curious.
They do. I
What's
mean,
the
for what?
point? I mean, they're married. They could have the real thing. What's the point of still watching it? I'm curious.
What if you had a couple that actually likes watching it together?
For what reason?
New moves. I mean, if we're gonna have a candid conversation, we can have it. I mean, there are some. I'm not speaking on behalf of any man, including myself. I'm not speaking on that. But there is the possibility that men could watch that because they have a spouse already. They could have a healthy relationship, and you're like, man, I'm just trying to figure out what the next move going to be. Like, who knows? There's some men who do it because there's dissatisfaction in their marriage. There's multiple reasons why.
So a man that's getting a healthy amount of sex in marriage will still watch pornography.
It's possible. It depends.
It's possible. It depends. Depends on what?
It might be. Who knows? It could be a fetish. I don't know.
So does that go back to what Candace Owens says?
But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, pornography. I'm not sitting here defending it like it's a great thing. It's not. I'm not saying that. When you ask for reasons why, and I'm just giving reasons why. The possibility of these reasons why it could be for, in their sight, it could be good reasons, and in most people's sight, of course, it's a bad reason. But I don't know. It just depends on the situation.
You're being very vague tonight. Whatever.
Listen.
Cardi B responds to Candace Owens by saying, what did she say? I can't see with the wording on there. She says something how it actually should teach men how to
pornography.
Cardi B says it actually is there to teach you guys for it to be your compass, your guide on how to maintain yourselves in the bedroom that's not defiled when you're married.
Yeah, but Cardi B's, I don't know. I don't know. I'll just say this, and I guess this puts it in perspective and has helped me as a man to put it in perspective, even through my own imperfections. But one thing that I keep in mind is that, man, when I have watched it in the past, I started to like really look at it and say, man, I'm watching somebody else's daughter. You know what I'm saying?
You didn't think that.
I did. And I did. I started to think that.
He's like, I'm
gonna have a heart. I'm just. I mean, no, because listen. No, here's another thing that also happens too. When you do become, in the body of Christ, and you become a new creature, and so your prayers start to change, and those prayers start to be, God, remove this thing that I like so much. It's indulging. Remove that taste out of my mouth. so that I don't indulge in that anymore. So it's levels to this. It's a process to that. It's so even with it being maybe healthy for somebody, but then they may come to the realization that it's really not a healthy thing. They have to go through that maturation process, and everybody has to go through that process.
You saying the right things. You saying the right things. You know what's odd? Okay, so I was talking to this guy, and I'm not talking to him anymore, but I was talking to this guy, like the very first conversation I had with him, he had some interest in me. The very first conversation, automatically, we're talking about like abstinence, my abstinence journey. And then he's like, well, you watch pornography though, right? Like you get yourself off, right? And I'm just like, no. He was like, what do you mean you don't watch pornography? What do you mean? Like, you ain't having sex and you ain't doing that? And I'm just like, to me, pornography seems very adolescent. It seems like, it's just like one of those things you're not supposed to do when you're a kid. You find it, and then it's just like, oh, okay, well, some sex moves and this and that. No, it's just like one of those things, but like at a certain point, you're trying to tell me you're still doing it? Like it's like almost like this is what you do when you don't have a wife. This is what you do when you don't have a man.
Can I ask you a question? So so there's pornography, but then there's also like sex shows. Are we condemning people for watching sex shows? Like,
what's the difference?
Well, what if I'm watching a sex show on like how to set up a sex room for me and my spouse?
The fact that you know about these things and I have no idea what you're talking about should let you know the answer to whatever questions you're asking.
What's it?
It's like how to set up a what? You Wait a minute, brother.
Listen, I'm married. Obviously, marriage bed is undefiled. So.
How to set up a what?
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I'm very lost. So you lost me. You lost me. I don't know. Like I don't have the answer to it, but I will say being a believer is just, I find it hard. Right. What's your man talking about, girl? I find it very hard that honestly, Tim, a lot of Christians are like in the same bubble when it comes to pornography. A lot of men and women who call themselves believers, they partake in this. And the thing about it is that we call it entertainment. We call it whatever we want to call it, but the reality of it is that you're finding joy or some sort of entertainment watching people sin. And that's just the reality of it. And I think like you were saying, like once you grow in your faith, you start seeing sin for what it is. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to have sex, but I'm going to make it okay for me to watch somebody else have sex. Or, well, I'm married, so it should be okay that I should be watching other people sin. And I think even with not just pornography, but like the television shows that we watch, like I've started to feel some kind of way, like on television show, you're watching something and all of a sudden they break away and they not married and then they start having sex. And I'm just like, oh, like in the past, it didn't bother me. But now I'm like, a lot of the things that we find joy and entertainment in is rooted in sin. And when it's like that, we start to normalize the sin and we start to tell ourselves it's not as big as people want to make it. But the reality of it is it's being normalized for a reason. And I think as believers, we have to, be able to call those things out. Like even going to, strip clubs and stuff like that, like you going to lust, but it's so normalized that it's just like, what you mean? Like, how you not gonna be okay? Oh, you jealous, you this, you that, you insecure. Like, we start to make the other person feel bad because you wanna go lust after somebody else that's not your wife or your husband. And nobody's really. I'm gonna have the conversation. I don't care how people feel, but it just kind of is what it is. It's the truth. And I think once we start to accept what's real and what's the truth, what's biblical, what's right versus what the world is doing, we could truly be set apart. But right now, there's a lot of us that's not set apart, but we think we are. We call ourselves believers and followers of Christ, and I'm going to heaven, but your actions and your behaviors are not showing any separation where Christ resides in you, where you feel a way, where your spirit feels some kind of way when you're doing those things. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
It's good stuff, though. It's good stuff. Let us know your thoughts. Definitely comment below. Join the conversation as we are talking through some really heavy hitters tonight. So, including some crazy takes from your boy. So, all right. So we're going to get to the next topic. Deandra Sanders, who is the daughter of Deion Sanders, the great Deion Sanders, declares her son will carry her last name, not Jaquez, because they aren't married. And so, what's your thoughts on this, Tam?
Why you give it to me first? I don't know. I don't know the right answer. I don't know, because let's just say he never marries her and then she gets married to somebody else. Are the kids gonna feel some kind of way that they're, everybody in the household don't have the same name? I don't know. Or that's their dad. Like, she should give them the last name. It feels some kind of way. And I'm gonna tell you why it feels some kind of way. Because generally I would just say it's the dad. The baby should have the dad's last name. I saw a post the other day from a girl who changed her last name because her dad was like a deadbeat. She's like, my mom gave me my dad's name. I've never seen this man. I have no idea who he is, who his people are. I don't know this man. I wouldn't know him if he passed by me. And she's like, I felt so freeing when I changed my name, my last name, her last name or whatever. So it's just like, I don't really know. This is why you shouldn't be having kids when you're not married. This is a lesson for us all. What do you think?
That's the overarching message that I catch from all of this, is that, now you have to be in a position where you have to choose what the child's last name is going to be, where, this is already rooted in sin, and we've been there. We've done that. We've made those mistakes. And so we constantly see these mistakes that happening. And now you got to make these decisions that really are unfortunate for the child's sake. She wants to keep the child's last name because, number one, that's one of the most famous last names on the planet right now.
Okay.
And so to keep it in the family to where, hey, you already dealing with greatness with your brothers, greatness with your father, greatness all around you, from that standpoint, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. And mother and child is tough to separate, and so she's choosing her child and what she feels is best for her child to make that decision because they're not married. And so these are the decisions that you make when you're not, as one full unit in one body. So it's unfortunate that this is the decision that needs to be made. And I believe that the child's name should be in the father's name, but
yeah,
but hey, the woman got to get the opportunity to choose. This is what she chooses.
What would you say, like off topic but on topic? Like, if let's just say you met Allie and she like built this whole business brand around her name, would you be okay if she didn't change her name, or would you be like, you can hyphenate the name? Like, how would you feel? How would you feel like if somebody's built a brand around their name?
I'd be cool with her keeping the last name. I mean, it would be nice if she chose to keep her last name, and she didn't have mine, I would fully understand why. But of course, a part of me would feel like, man, I would want you to carry that, but but either way, choice by choice, she's still a Nicholas. So really, but I, really wouldn't matter as much. I'm proud that she took my last name, but at the same time, but she still uses it publicly, like, in a lot of different forums, even on Facebook and all that. It doesn't bother me one bit. So I understand that's how people know her and associate her anyway. And so, especially from a business aspect. So it wouldn't bother me.
Okay. I didn't think you were going to say that, but okay.
I'm blessed that she did, but at the same time, even still publicly, she kind of still uses it on Facebook and stuff, and doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, I always think like if I were to get married, when I get married, would I be like eager to change my last name? And there used to be a time where I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna change my last name, but now like everything that I do is like my brand is around my name. I'm building my whole brand right now, and I think I would probably hyphenate it. Or like my mom, she made her last name her middle name. So when she got married to my dad, her old, it's not hyphen, but it's become her middle name. So just like something for me to consider, but I don't think it would be like a Tam Watts would be a cool middle name for me. It's like a very bold name. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll know when that time comes, you'll know what to do.
He just has to have if he has a really cool last name and it doesn't matter. I don't know. It just has to be a good last name. It can't be like Jenkins or something like that.
Like you from Oak Cliff. Oops, I forgot you from Oak Cliff.
Shut up. I'm not from Oak Cliff. But shout out Oak Cliff.
I'm not Oak Cliff.
Yeah, it can't be nothing whack. Like that would be weird. Like I've seen people with whack last names. There's no way I would like we gonna have. I'm like, nah, babe, can you change your last name to Watts?
Oh wow, yeah, now that wouldn't happen.
You'd be Mr. Watts, but no, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. We'll see when the time comes. Let's get into the next topic, which is right along some of the other topics we've been highlighting, which is men and sex before marriage. Tim. So Lecrae had a lot to say about this. So we do have a clip of sex before marriage. So let's get into it.
I'll be honest. I don't know the quality of these dudes at church. I don't know.
Because a bunch, never mind.
Yeah, I'm not in the mix like that. I don't know the quality. I'm assuming it's great, but then I start listening to the ladies and I'm like, dang, but I thought he was serious about Jesus.
The simplicity of like no sex before marriage is a thing.
That's wild to me.
It's like, yeah, I love God, but like, what you mean?
I did 2 years of celibacy before I got married. It was like, no. But that was like the least common denominator. It was like, that's the bottom barrel for me. It was like, all right, we're going to chill on this.
But that's even a thing with men who say they love the Lord.
Yeah, that's
it's like,
wild.
oh, I love God, but like, what?
Okay. So, my brain is boggled. Church dudes who love Jesus. Come on, man.
I mean,
least common denominator. I'm not saying it's the stain of all stains to like, oh man, like, because I think there is this idea of like, if you did that, you're unworthy. I don't want to paint that picture.
No, not at all.
But it's a covenantal practice.
It's like, we just have to not.
Yes.
We just have to not.
But I told my daughter, and I told my son this too, but I said, the Bible says your body's a temple.
Mm-hmm.
If your body's a temple, I just finished Leviticus. Only one person's allowed in that temple, the priest. If it ain't the priest, it's going to be problems. So it's one person supposed to be in the temple.
That's it.
And
you really will save yourself from so much foolishness.
Tim. I completely agree with this whole conversation. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because there's so many men out here who cloak themselves with this Christian title, but the moment you say you abstinent, you be like, what you mean? What you mean you abstinent?
So I'm curious. Have you had any experiences that you'd like to share when you have spoken about men and sex before marriage? It sounds like it's a personal thing.
This is very personal.
It's very personal. And so why don't you enlighten us on maybe an experience that you've had to where you had to actually deal with a man who actually put that cloak on and said, hey, I'm a Christian man, no sex before marriage, but then he finds out you abstinent, and that's just an interesting topic for him, and then he wants to dive more into that conversation. So why don't you share some of those experiences with us?
Don't be my therapist.
I'm in my therapist stance.
I know you leaned in. I'm like, brother, hold on.
I'm gonna take my cup and I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna wait for this. So, ladies and gentlemen, the popcorn or something ready because we're gonna listen to this.
This is not fresh. This happened.
Make it juicy though.
Maybe in the last 2 years, but I remember like my 2022 season of trying to date. I was meeting nothing but guys who said they were Christian, but I would say only 10% of those guys were abstinent.
Any prominent ones that said that by any chance? Anybody that you can enlighten us on who possibly could have said that they were abstinent and they would? Anybody prominent that you thought of?
I'm not going to play with you. I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to play with you.
I'm just curious.
I will say
anybody prominent? No. Because
I will say recently. Hold on, let me charge my phone. I will say.
You try to get off the hook.
I'm gonna say recently.
What's up?
I had a very bad encounter with somebody that a lot of people know who professes to be Christian in the public, who's looking for a spouse. And I didn't have sex with this person, but they were very much couldn't control themselves, could not control themselves. So, and that experience with me, for me, was like a very horrible experience for me. And it just made it, which is probably why I took a long time. I take a long time to let people in and stuff like that, because a lot of these men that are Christian, Tim, are hornballs. Like that's just really what it is. Like being a woman, being abstinent, trying to live for God. I see, and you see it online. Like you're like, oh, you gonna marry Jesus? You gonna die alone? Like men would much rather tell a woman who's trying to live spiritually right those things than to be a better man. And that to me is like very sick, very disgusting. It's just like, and it's not getting any better. And I think for me, I don't like it. It's very telling of self-control, leadership, and it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow because being a woman, you want to follow a man, and I want to unpack this whole weaker vessel scenario that a lot of men love to throw out when they want to be dominant about something. But being a vessel just means that our ability to be filled is not as grand as a man. It doesn't mean that we are weaker humans or any of that kind of thing. A vessel is just what God pours into, what he's able to pour into. So when we're talking about weaker vessel, that's what that means. But a lot of men are using that to demonize women, and a lot of men put women in very precarious situations to put out or feel pressured about putting out, or raping them, or touching them after the first no. Like all of those things, I'm just so sick of men who call themselves Christian, who are living this life the same way the world does, and will literally they won't leave you alone. They will just pressure you because they think that eventually you're gonna get tired and just be like, you know what? I do want to open my legs to you. You pressured me 20,000 times. You got me. Like I don't really get it. I don't really get it. It's sick. It's disgusting. Which is why I stay my butt at home.
It's the best place to be in this day and age. And I do know of men who are in the church who use the church as their stomping ground to prey on women, to, women who have actually decided to abstain and actually take their spiritual growth and their spiritual walk seriously enough to where you want to test them or demonize women for actually having a moral standard and a moral code. Whereas for us, it's more so a lack of self-control. And so, and that's why a lot of times you'll get that man trying to pressure a woman because he can't control himself, and he feels as though it's unnatural for a woman to control herself, but that's not it. That is not the case. No, it should be having a standard of self-control. That is exactly what we should be doing. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I agree with you. It's unfortunate.
Why do you feel like that's just like a constant for a lot of men? Like, and why is it not being taught differently, right? I feel like the women are having the same conversations that they've always had, and men are having the same conversations that they've always had when it comes to women. Like, why aren't more progressive conversations had about, like, the one thing that I heard when Lecrae was talking, he's like, well, I told my daughter, and then he tried to clean it up and be like, oh, well, I told my son too. Like, he tried to clean it up, but it's just like, it is that thing where you're telling your daughters to keep her legs closed. You're telling your daughter to be abstinent, and that's a gift, and you're not supposed to give that away. You're having those more biblical conversations with your daughter, but you're not having them with your son who's supposed to lead. So what we're seeing is a lot of women that are women of standard, but we're not seeing the same thing across the board with men being men of standard, because even at an early age, we're not teaching them to be that. A lot of us just are simply dropping the ball, and then we're using the same excuse for our sin and being like, well, that's just what a man does. We got needs. You haven't taught them to be any differently. Even though your own demise, a lot of men out here with 20,000 kids, but you're not teaching your kids any differently. And it's just it just, to me, it's boggling that for men to be leaders, a lot of them are dropping the ball. Not all of them, but a lot of them are dropping the ball. And the women, we're suffering in silence oftentimes, or it's too late. Like, we've been pressured to have sex with some dude. Now we got some kids with some joke. We got kids with something. They're like, why do you have kids with him? But you the same dude that was pressuring old girl, right? So it's just like this repeated cycle of nonsense to me. And I don't understand it, but I'm just like hoping we would raise up a generation of men that's like, all right, I'm going to teach my son to be men. I'm going to teach them to be differently, rather than just being like, hey, daughter, this and this and this and that. Like, aren't we tired of having that kind of conversation and not actually leading with our sons?
Everything you say is accurate. I think the one thing you have to continue to keep in mind is just that where women have been pre-wired to keep your legs closed and things like that, that's the foundational piece to what a lot of women are taught. But we as men are taught to conquer. We as men are taught to sleep with as many women as we can before we get married and all those things, because that's like, hey, going from a lot of women to one is like going to the electric chair. And that faulty thinking has been embedded in every man. So when you have that, now you're fighting against what's been embedded for where a man's identity has been shaped when it comes to women and when it comes to sex. That's why you may hear the lag from Lecrae where he says, oh, I told my son too, but maybe it wasn't emphasized with his son as much as his daughter. That was the message that you probably received, was that, I told my son, but it's kind of like, well, if my son falls, that's just how he's built. That's how he's wired, and that's where it shouldn't be. It should be the same conversations with your sons, like, hey, your body is a temple. Don't ever let anyone come in. If we're just talking about the priest was the only person that was allowed into the temple, then that means that someone of high value, high character should be the only one that should experience your temple. And those conversations do need to be held with men, because the more times we have those conversations with men and we start to put a high value on those young men, then the less likely you'll see them actually going out there and having more babies and out of wedlock and sleeping with a lot of young women and trying to stake his identity into that, but you don't know what you don't know. You just know the faulty thinking that you hear from your neighborhoods, from the corner, each and every corner. You don't hear guys really talking about that. And I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just saying we have a ways to go to be able to change that thinking. And so that's where we got to start working through.
Are you having that like conversation with your sons right now, or is the conversation a little bit different?
No, the conversation is definitely your body is a temple, and not to make the same mistakes that I made, even at your age or as a kid, not really truly valuing what that meant, and so, I'm teaching my sons the exact opposite of those things, to embrace your virginity and not to be ashamed of being a virgin. There's nothing ashamed about being a virgin. There's plenty of time for that. Once you find the person that loves you and you love them and is high value and high character person that comes into your life, and then you just do everything the opposite that I did. So that's what I'm teaching my boys.
Nice. I love it. All right, let's get into what you drinking, Tim?
None of your business.
Let's get into the next topic. Who is responsible?
Mujer estaba comprando y esto pasó. Mientras hacía sus compras, encuentra un pájaro que vino a saludar. Ella lo quería tocar, sin embargo, la sorpresa fue que esta ave confundió el dinero de la compra con un papel para hacer su nido. El hombre solo sonrió ante tal situación.
What the heck?
What was going on?
Okay, it looks like the lady put some money down. The bird stole it. The money was to pay for her items. The cashier didn't pick it up. Who's responsible?
The woman.
What?
What did what's his job? His job is supposed to give out all free
to get the money, and so she can leave with her items.
That was her money. So she need to get her money. Get me my money, and you get your products.
That's crazy. I would say it was his fault because she put the money down. Why didn't he grab it? She pointed to the bird. The bird
you can get half off.
with the money.
You can get half off.
That's great. That's wild. Whatever. All right. That's good. Is this his last topic?
Mm-hmm.
Women don't need men anymore. Did we do that one?
No.
No, we didn't do that one. We did intuition. All right, let's get into it. We got a video.
Real quick, do y'all believe in women's intuition?
Hell yeah.
If you can feel that your man is cheating, why can't you tell when he's unhappy?
Is that a valid question?
I don't think so.
Of course you say that. Yeah.
I don't think that's a valid question.
Well, it's pretty. That could be a legitimate question. So, if a woman has intuition, can a woman's intuition spot if her man is unhappy?
I think sometimes, but I don't think all the time. And I'm gonna say the reason why. A lot of times when men are unhappy or just not in a good space, you guys still pretend to be superheroes, to be strong, to be okay. Y'all aren't as forthcoming, not all of y'all, but y'all aren't always as forthcoming when it comes to like your emotions and like not being okay. Now, when it comes to cheating, on the other hand, I feel like a lot of men just make stupid mistakes. Like typically when a man cheats, and I know this from experience because I was with a cheater, not all, like just one cheater, but when he used to cheat, he always had a tell. Like he would be either overly nice or overly angry. There was never any middle ground. Never. It's almost like I'm gonna be overly nice to try to make up for this guiltiness that I feel, or I'm gonna be overly angry so I can have another opportunity to cheat. So it's just like, it wasn't like normal. Like if normal was the middle, he would be one extreme to the other extreme. So I could always tell, because those extremes are very, very loud. Even when he's like being overly nice and overly giving, it's still very loud because it's out of the ordinary. And I think a lot of women, when a man is unhappy, there aren't really extremes to the unhappiness. There's generally a blow up. It's like too late when we realize like y'all are unhappy. It's just like, okay, you were unhappy this whole time. Why you didn't say nothing? So it's like those kinds of moments when it comes to a man, but your behavior is a little bit different. So a lot of times we simply don't know, because too often we treat men like they're impenetrable because you guys act that way.
Okay, that's fair to some degree.
I tried. What you got?
I mean, going back to the original question, is women's intuition really a thing? Yes, it is.
It is.
I do believe that we can compartmentalize our emotions.
Okay.
But I think there's two things that can be true. I think that we as men can hide behind being a superhero, staying busy, isolating ourselves, as well as compartmentalizing our emotions. That is one thing that can be true. Another thing that can also be true is that women do not study men as well as you should. So there's part of that.
What is that? Unpack that. What does that mean?
Well, if you live long enough with a man, you'll understand. You can understand his temperaments, and you can understand.
No, you can't.
Okay, no. Well, but I'm not saying that it does not absolve the man from communicating. I'm not saying that, but the temperaments change. The temperaments do change, and we as men have to study our wives, but also there is an element of a woman wanting to understand that man.
I don't even know what this means. Okay, I'm a student in class trying to figure out what you talked about. So I feel like, okay, here's the thing. I feel like as long as you're married, right, you're always going to be growing, changing, evolving every single day. So you can very well be studying somebody and they could very well be a completely different person. The person that you meet at 18 is not going to be the same person at 30, 45, whatever. So it's just like those things may change, but what's consistent typically is that if a man is unhappy, he is not saying he's unhappy until he has another woman or until he is over the top frustrated. Like generally the moment that a man finds out he's unhappy, he still says nothing. But for a woman,
that is not every man.
No, okay, not every man. Let me clarify. Not every man, but most men don't at the onset of unhappiness say I'm unhappy. You typically wait. Some of y'all typically wait until like you're fed up. And by that time, it is too late to fix what is broken. And it's like, well, how did you not know I was unhappy? It's like, what?
They just hid behind work and hid behind, and you just never started noticing that man.
He said he was working late. He wanted overtime. What do you mean?
You just stopped noticing that man he'd be sitting outside his car for an hour, hour and a half, or you just started recognizing.
But he got a car. He might be catching the bus.
And you just stop noticing, like, there's signs he don't want to be around you. So he gonna go to the gym more. He gonna go to the bar. He gonna start coming home a tad bit later. And you mean to tell me you not noticing not one trend that used to be from when he used to enjoy spending time with you to the time he stopped enjoying spending time with you? There was nothing there that it's just like way too late. No, not every dude is the same. They gonna operate in the same way, like nothing's happening. There's guys out there that's gonna actually communicate. I am unhappy. Let's fix this together, or please fix it. I'm not happy. Please.
Oh, and that's the thing. So you're proving my point here. You decided, like men decide to stay late at work, to not come home, to da-da-da-da-da. A woman, on the other hand, she's not going to be doing all of that. She might do it after she's had a conversation and maybe there's no change.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, you'll make excuses for the things you do. So you won't just say, I'm working late. I'm not coming home because I'm not happy. You'll just not come. You'll say, I'm not coming home early because I got to do a work thing. Like you have an excuse for it. So you want us to be like, oh, that's different. But you've made an excuse for why you're not coming home. That's not fair. Am I right? And am I right or am I right?
I'm really out here playing devil's advocate tonight. But
I'm just saying though. But I listen, I hear you. But the moment the woman is like, well, is something wrong? And you're like, I already told you. I already told you. I said to work late to talk to the boss. See, that's the problem right there. You don't listen.
All right. Well,
I just want you to just tell me what's going on. And so, no, honestly, it's kind of hard it's hard. I'm going to say we can't always tell, but I will say it is very hard to tell when a man is unhappy. It's very hard to tell when a man is like just needs a break. Like all of those things. It's very hard to tell because you guys have excuses for those things when people ask at the onset, and then after your excuses run out, or maybe a woman asks too many questions, then it's just like compounded. So it's hard. It's difficult.
It is challenging, I'm sure.
Y'all are very complex creatures for sure. Aren't we all?
Wow. I mean, hey, you got a good point there. So I'm just playing devil's advocate, but I do agree with you.
You agree? Yeah. You actually agree with that?
Do we have any other topics tonight?
That's it. Listen, I agree. We ain't got nothing else. Nothing to follow.
Well, we thank you guys for joining us tonight. Take it home.
All right, guys, we want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Back Pew Podcast. We'll be here Tuesdays, 8:30 Central Standard Time. We want to thank you guys for rocking with us late night tonight while I was getting my technical issues taken care of. If you are new here, go ahead and click that follow or subscribe button. If you've not already clicked like, we got 3 people watching right now. I only see 2 hearts. Like, what's up with that? That third person needs to go ahead and click that like. Let us know it's real, you know. and we will see you guys next week. Oh, we got final thoughts, don't we, Tim?
I don't have any final thoughts tonight. I pray that you guys have a safe, great, and enjoyable week. And I thank you for joining us. We thank you for joining us here in the Back Pew. So, what you got, Tam?
That's all you got for final thoughts?
That's all I got.
I got no final thoughts either. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
Yo, what's going on?
Back
Pew.
We got so much to talk about this week.
You know.
We can unpack like these conversations. You can see a pedicure.
You would do what you
Depends on his feet.
That could be my street. What's up? What's up, Tam? We in person? We not back conversations. Going on.